Okay, so the record function is on. And so on behalf of San Jose State University and our School of Social Work, I'd like to officially welcome you to our informational meeting. My name is Peter Lee. I'm a professor here and also the director of the program. So the Masters of Social Work program has an on-campus and an online hybrid version. And in terms of what we are covering is the basic information for both. So the on-campus program started in 1969, and actually our whole school in itself is going to be celebrating its 50th anniversary in a couple of years. And our online hybrid program was founded in 2016. So last fall was our first cohort of online students that we admitted. Our second group started this past fall 2017. And for those of you who are applying either to online or to on-campus, you're applying to enter the program fall 2018, okay? Both programs are accredited by the Council of Social Work Education, or CSWE, and you wanna make sure that as you're doing your research for your MSW program, you wanna make sure that the program is accredited. So both of our programs, both on-campus and online hybrid versions, are accredited. You'll see in the upper right-hand corner a pie picture. And basically every school, not just in social work, but in every discipline, has some version of cultural competency. And our version, which we like to share, is called the transcultural perspective. So the transcultural perspective has 5 components to it: cultural knowledge, cultural competency, power, privilege, and oppression, positionality and self-reflexivity, and respectful partnership. Now, each of these components has its own distinct definition, but they must also be taken together in context in order to have a full model. So this is a model of culture and diversity. It is not the model, but it's something that we use to inform our mission and vision, and also that is infused throughout our whole curriculum. So this transcultural model has a component called cultural knowledge, and that's basically the information including history and background, information about different aspects of culture. Now, as we know, culture is not limited to just ethnicity or race. Culture can also include gender and gender identity, it can include socioeconomic background, religion, other types of characteristics that make up who we are. And so that body of information is what we call cultural knowledge. Now, in order to then apply that and have our interactions with folks who are different or similar with us, we have an aspect of cultural competency. Now, it is impossible to actually have 100% cultural competency. There just is no such thing. There is no way that I can fully appreciate or understand what somebody else's culture is. So we still have the responsibility to strive for as much cultural competency that we can, and there's an aspect of humility that's also involved. So even though I might not be able to fully understand or appreciate somebody else's culture, I still have a responsibility to at least have that understanding as best as possible, to have that respect for that person's culture. And that is an aspect of cultural competency that is very important in this manner. Power, privilege, and oppression. Because of our characteristics, we all have some element of power and some element of privilege. But of course, as we know, there are some folks who have more power or less power, or more privilege and less privilege in terms of what is related to their identity or their particular position in life. And when this particular power or privilege is wielded in a unjust manner, then oppression occurs. So we can already probably mention our own examples of where either we ourselves or as a community or as a group have been oppressed or marginalized. And we, as part of our cultural model, have to acknowledge that there are power dynamics that exist within various aspects or all aspects of society and in our community, that folks do have different levels and different amounts of privilege, and that as a profession and as individuals, we're trying to combat this oppression and this marginalization. So positionality and self-reflexivity, basically, we also have a responsibility for understanding ourselves. So positionality is basically how do we identify what different particular characteristics and recognize that? So an example of my positionality would be, for example, a American-born Chinese. I belong to an ethnic group that has been historically also marginalized or has faced discrimination. I'm also identify as male, heterosexual, middle class, have a spiritual background, and so with my positionality comes some power and some privilege. The self-reflexivity is important because then it is the actual process, ongoing process in which I recognize my positionality, and you all should also recognize your positionality, and how does that affect the relationships that we have with other folks? Again, keeping in mind the cultural knowledge, the cultural competency, the power, privilege, and oppression. So it is this ongoing reflection and this ongoing introspection about ourselves and our positionality that is important, not just as social workers, but as people, to understand how we, in our particular situation, affect others, both in a personal and a professional sense. So respectful partnership, which is the last pie piece, is that we all then have a responsibility to have a collaborative and mutually beneficial and supportive relationship in this way, whether it be in a professional sense or a personal sense, in a respectful manner, which is why we call it respectful partnership. So with these 5 particular components, which have distinct definitions, they still must go hand in hand as a model to understand what it is that we're trying to advance in terms of our diversity and cultural model. So our guiding vision is to provide leadership that advances social justice from a transcultural perspective for the health and well-being of those who are marginalized in an increasingly diverse society. This is what basically is at the heart and cornerstone of our school and our mission and our vision. Okay, so let me start with some description of our on-campus program. And even if you're not interested at this point for the on-campus program, it's important to understand the context of this information so that you also understand what the online program offers. So in the on-campus program, which is the oldest of our options, we have a 2-year full-time or a 3-year part-time program option. In starting to explain the 2-year full-time option, you would basically average 4 classes per semester, and you also have 16 hours a week of internship within your first year. In the second year of the full-time program, you also average about 4 classes per semester, plus your field internship, which is also technically a class. So then in the final year, you basically increase your internship responsibilities from 16 hours a week to 24 hours a week. Now, if you imagine the basic understanding of the 2-year program or full-time, where you average approximately 4 classes per semester, plus a 5th class, which is basically your field education class and internship, you complete the program in the traditional semester schedule format. So your 2 years in the on-campus full-time would be fall and spring first year for the foundation, and then fall and spring again in your second year in your advanced year. Okay. Now in the 3-year part-time program, the reason why we call it 3-year part-time is because part-time is somewhat of a misnomer in that you are not truly a part-time student for the entire 3 years. So in the 3-year program, imagine that the full-time program's first year is split across 2 years. So in the first year of the 3-year program, you average 2 classes per semester and no internship. And then in the second year of the 3-year program, you again average the 2 classes per semester, and then you add the 3rd class or the internship of 16 hours per week in your internship agency. And then the 3rd year of the 3-year program is equivalent to a full-time final year. So that's why we don't like just calling it the part-time program, because by the time you get into the 2nd and the 3rd year, it's not really a part-time program per se, okay? So in the 3-year part-time program, the foundation year or the first year of the full-time program is completed over a 2-year time period, and field education begins in year 2. Year 3 of the 3-year program is equivalent to a full-time final year, as is mentioned. We use a cohort-based learning community model for education for the foundation year curriculum. And this is for on-campus program as well as online hybrid program. So at this point, I want to describe to you what we mean by cohort-based learning. Okay? So if other schools use that same term, they may mean something different from us. What we mean by cohort-based learning in the foundation year means that as the students are admitted into the program, let's say there's 30 folks who are assigned a specific cohort. And that cohort of 30 students will take all of their foundation year classes together. You are assigned specific class schedules. So for example, in the two-year full-time program, your classes are in the daytime between 9 and 3:30 in the afternoon on either a Monday, Friday pattern or a Wednesday, Friday pattern, okay? So that means that the advantage of a cohort-based learning community model for us, you do not have to worry about enrollment in our classes because all of that enrollment is saved for you. You also have the opportunity to build relationships with your classmates within your cohort, which is advantageous for social support, study groups. Some people extend those relationships and those friendships for lifelong learning and support. And so we find that that is something that we prefer in how we use the cohort model. The disadvantage for the cohort model, however, is that if you're looking for choice in terms of when you choose to take your classes and which professors you have very little choice, almost no choice in terms of the cohort-based learning model and the foundation year, okay? For the 3-year part-time students, the foundation years are actually considered the first and the second year. So the 3-year part-time program on campus was developed with the intention of facilitating educational opportunities for working students. So for the first 2 years, those classes in the foundation years are scheduled on Monday and Wednesday evenings from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. So that means that for the 3-year part-time students, your classes are primarily in the evening on the first 2 years. And for the full-time students, the foundation year is basically in the daytime. When you get into the final year, which we call the advanced year, on-campus students must be available to take classes on Monday and Tuesday, anytime from 9 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night. By the time you get to the advanced year, you will have a field of practice or a specialization in which you will no longer be with your entire cohort because they're all picking different areas of specialization or fields of practice. But you will have some classmates that are familiar to you. And because of the resources and the class scheduling that we have, sometimes the classes that you're required to take in your advanced year on campus may only be scheduled on a particular day at a particular time, either day or night. Okay? So we can revisit that in a moment, but use that as the context. So when we talk about the online hybrid program, now that you understand what the campus program looks like, the online hybrid program is basically a 2-year program that requires continuous part-time enrollment over 2 calendar years, including summer and winter. Okay, there is a comment in here that we just want to clarify. At this point, we do not know what the summer commitment will be, but basically it does include 1 summer of commitment. So this is already different from the on-campus program because the on-campus program uses the traditional semester scheduling of classes and internship, whereas the online hybrid program uses a continuous calendar year scheduling of classes and internship, okay? At this point, I would also like to clarify that online hybrid is used as that term to describe the program because all of your classes are actually conducted online. And what we mean by online is using the term synchronous and asynchronous. So synchronous means that your classes, literally all the students are hooking into the internet together along with your professor, and the classes are conducted over the internet with a camera and with a speaker or a headset. So everybody is online at the same time. That's what synchronously means. Asynchronous means that the professor will post information about your class and your coursework ahead of time, and the assignments ahead of time in which students are responsible for learning and doing that material, covering that material at their own time before a designated due date. So this asynchronous because students are not hooking into the system at the same time. So the synchronous sessions are all at the same time, everybody's plugged in at the same time. Asynchronous is on your own time, but meeting certain deadlines. The hybrid portion of the name, online hybrid, is because your internship is still in person, where you meet with clients and your supervisors face to face. So the classes, the traditional classes are online, but your field class in terms of your internship and your agency responsibilities is done in person. Okay. Now the other point after this is currently only for California residents, and that is because of the educational agreements that we have currently with other states. If you are planning not to be a California resident or to reside in this state at the time that you're going to be doing the online program, you should inquire with us to make sure that you're actually eligible to be in the online program at San Jose State. As I mentioned, the courses are completed online synchronously and asynchronously. There will be a set class schedule that the coordinator will eventually post before your classes and enrollment starts. So for example, you'll know when the synchronous sessions will occur. The synchronous sessions at this point are all occurring on weekday evenings, sometime between 6 and as late as 9:30, sometimes even later than that. And your classes usually average meeting synchronously about once a week or once every other week, depending on the class. But that class schedule will be posted so that students can plan ahead. Field education is completed in person at your agency near your geographic location. So sometimes folks will ask, well, I'm coming from Los Angeles, or I'm going to enroll from someplace up north in California or in the Valley. We would work with you to find an internship that is close as possible to your geographic location. So you would not have to travel to the Bay Area to do your internship if you live outside of the Bay Area, unless that is something that you're requesting. So again, we use a cohort-based learning community model. So again, with the students that are in the online program, if we have 30 students that are admitted to one cohort for the online program, those same students will be taking those classes and hooking in synchronously for all of the foundation year classes. Okay. So as I had mentioned, the curriculum includes the foundation year. And in the foundation year, that is basically the first year for on-campus 2-year full-time students, and also the first year for the online hybrid students. That's your foundation year. For years 1 and 2 for the on-campus 3-year part-time students, that is what's considered your foundation years. The focus is on competencies and generalist skills within 5 content areas. So when I had mentioned to you that you're averaging a certain number of classes per session or per semester, the 5 content areas, of which field does also count as a class, would include field education, human behavior in the social environment or the theory component, social policy, social work practice, and social work research. So those are the 5 main content areas in the foundation year for all of the different MSW program options that we have. The final year of the MSW program for all MSW students is called the advanced year. And it's a focus on competencies and advanced skills within one concentration called the Transcultural Multi-Systems concentration, and choosing one of the 3 fields of practice. Now at this point, we want to also define, as you're researching other MSW programs, those schools may use different terms. They may call them specializations, they may call them concentrations, they may call them focus or foci. We call them fields of practice. In the on-campus program, we have 3 fields of practice: health and mental health, children, youth, and families, and aging. In the online program, only 2 out of those 3 fields of practice are available. The aging field of practice is not available for the online program at this time. Okay, so again, foundation year and advanced year for both the online hybrid program and for the on-campus program. There are additional curriculum that we offer, and these options are currently only offered for the on-campus program. So if you're thinking about the online program, we will have to think of some other options for you, or you have to also consider whether or not this program is best suited for you. The first one is called the Pupil Personnel Services Credential, or the PPSC. And basically, that is for social workers who want to specialize in school and education settings, pre-K through 12. So the PPSC can be completed as part of the regular MSW curriculum for the on-campus program, and only for California residents, because the PPSC is basically a credential that is valid only in California. For those of you who are not able to complete the PPSC while in the MSW program, we do have a post-master's PPSC option. So after you finish your MSW, you can also apply to our post-master's PPSC program. And actually, folks who have earned MSWs from other programs besides ours have been enrolling in our post-master's PPSC program as well. The second additional curricular option is called the Title IV-E Child Welfare Training and Stipend Program. And currently, this is also available for on-campus program students only. And also in terms of the 3-year program, it is an option only for current Santa Clara County employees. I think there's other counties that may offer that, but you'll have to check with your county, if you're a county employee outside of Santa Clara County, to make sure that there is a work study or a part-time option. There has been some discussion about 4E being available for online students eventually, but that will not be available in time for the folks who are applying for this coming academic year. The Title IV-E Child Welfare Training Program also has its own website, and basically what it is an $18,500 stipend per year for students who are willing to train and prepare specifically in a career in public child welfare. The part-time option also offers a stipend in the form of reimbursing educational costs. And then again, unfortunately at this time, online students are not eligible for 4E. There is a Spanish language counseling certificate that's also available for on-campus program students. And that's an option available within any of the fields of practice that have been mentioned. And it is a class specifically taught in Spanish. And you can earn that certificate by passing the class or by taking a test that is done in Spanish with the instructor to earn that certificate. Field education. So basically, remember that field education is also a class that involves your internship. So the organizations have to be approved by the field education department, and the student placement process is collaborative, meaning that you are not responsible for finding your own internship, nor is it the school's responsibility alone to help you find an internship. It's a partnership in which we ask students to fill out information regarding what type of interests they have and particular requests. So examples of that would be if you have an interest in having an internship in an aging site, or a mental health site, or a hospital, or a particular setting, you would put that in the information so that we understand what we would look for you. There is also an opportunity that if you're looking for a paid internship, although it's very, very rare, it's okay for you to say, if possible, I would like an internship that has a stipend or some type of pay involved. And also geographic location. So if you have a particular area that you are looking at interning at because of either travel restrictions or a particular interest in a particular area or community, you would put that in your information as well. And it's a wide range of field education opportunities. Usually at this point, students will ask, are we able to use our work site as a field education internship site? And the answer is that you would have to petition and request to use your work site as an approved internship site. Usually what happens in that vetting process is we have to make sure first that the site is an appropriate site for social work field education, that it will have opportunities for training and casework and learning exercises that are appropriate for your field education, and also that you'll have proper supervision by a social worker at that site. Even if it is approved, you have to make sure that your activities and duties as an intern are distinctly different from what you do as your regular everyday job. Okay, so if you're thinking about requesting to use your agency site or your current work site as an internship site, you have to keep those things in mind. You'll also have to keep in mind that you can only use your work site for 1 out of the 2 years in which you intern. Okay, so if you have questions about that, just make a mental note and we can cover those a little bit later. The other strategy that we employ in our field education is that we want to make sure that we give students a diverse experience in their internship sites. So let me back up a little bit and help by describing what the focus is for our particular MSW program compared to other MSW programs. We advertise and acknowledge ourselves as and identify ourselves as what's called an advanced generalist social work program. So an advanced social work generalist program is basically diverse training across different areas, and it could be compared to, let's say, an MSW program that identifies itself as a clinical program. So a clinical program are those programs that focus and offer classes more specific to therapy modes, particular counseling techniques, and other ways to prepare folks that are looking primarily for a career in clinical social work or to do therapy. Okay. There are also other programs that identify themselves with a macro focus or some type of management or administrative focus. And so in that way, they offer a lot more opportunities for internships at agencies that do public policy, that also advance ideas about community work, other types of macro work, legislative processes, that type of thing. So as an advanced generalist program, we still offer opportunities and classes in those areas, but it does not specialize as much compared to some of those other programs who identify themselves differently. For example, again, as a clinical program or as a macro offered program. So examples of schools that offer a more macro focus would be the University of California at Berkeley. For those of you who are beyond the Bay Area, the UC programs at UCLA has a MSW program. USC is a private school. They tend to have more options in terms of what kind of focus and tracks that they offer. San Francisco State oftentimes advertises itself as a clinical program. Other schools across the state also have different focuses as well. So you want to keep that in mind. I also want to mention, though, that if you're interested in being a licensed clinical social worker, anyone who graduates from an accredited MSW program, of which we are one, is still eligible for licensure and the licensing process after you graduate from our school. So although we do not identify ourselves as a clinical program or a macro program, we still offer classes in that type of modality, just not as much as some of those other programs. And you can also request specific internships that focus in those particular areas as well. So we definitely do have clinical sites for internship. We definitely cover advanced practice skills in health and mental health settings, as well as in aging settings and children, youth, and family. It's just that if you're thinking about specializing in particular therapy modes or want a clinical focus, you might want to consider a different program. Same thing in terms of the macro focus. We do offer internships with legislators as well as other areas that do community organizing and policy work. But again, it's one of those things that you will have to consider. Our school as an advanced generalist program is a quality school, and we do believe in that diverse training so that it prepares social workers for multiple types of careers afterwards. So how this relates to the field education information is that in the spirit of the advanced generalist, in the spirit of the advanced generalist focused, we purposefully give you field education experiences that are different from your chosen field of practice, and of course within your chosen field of practice. So let's say, for example, a student wants to focus in health and mental health as their chosen field of practice. In their foundation year or their first year internship, we would deliberately put that student in an internship experience that is different from health and mental health, because then they would still learn the basic social work skills and understand what the systems look like from that perspective. Then when you get to the advanced year, we do find the internship with the student within the chosen field of practice. And as you look at the different fields of practice, as well as this strategy about advanced generalist, there is so much overlap across these different fields of practice that this type of advanced generalist training, in our belief, is probably to your advantage anyway. So an example of that is that even if you're going to be working in child welfare, you're going to be facing mental health issues and health issues. Even if you're focusing on children, youth, and families includes issues that affect aging and gerontology. So this particular crossover and also integration, even though we have distinct fields of practice and there are distinct agencies that focus on particular areas of practice, there is definitely always overlap across those different populations and different concerns and issues. Okay. So when we talk about field education, you'll also have a field instructor who is your supervisor on site at the agency. You'll have a faculty field liaison who is a SJSU faculty member who acts as the connection between our school and the agency. And your social work learning opportunities will include preparing students for practice from a transcultural multi-systems perspective, and will include both direct and indirect service experiences. So direct experiences means actual contact with clients, understanding how to help communities. Indirect service experiences would be more of the management focus, understanding more of the macro ideas and planning from other than a direct client service perspective. Okay. So the next couple of slides is a comparison between the on-campus and the online hybrid program. So some of this is a review, but it also gives you a different context in hopefully helping you to solidify your understanding and your choice amongst the programs. So for both the on-campus and the online hybrid program, the foundation year still includes the same 5 core curricular areas. So those 5 core curricular areas, again, are field education, social work research, practice, policy, and human behavior in the social environment or theory. The difference occurs is that in your advanced year, the on-campus program has all 3 fields of practice: health, mental health, children, youth, and families, and aging, whereas the online hybrid program currently has 2 out of those 3, health and mental health, and children, youth, and families. Aging is not currently available for online hybrid program. I also want to note here that our aging field of practice is being restructured because unfortunately, although the largest growth area in terms of job availability is in gerontology and aging, given the trajectory of how people are aging in our society, it is not a popular field of practice choice. So not that many students are actually going into the aging field at this point of their education. So what that means is that when any class, not just an aging class, is under-enrolled or in danger of being under-enrolled, we can't continue that class. So if you're interested in the aging focus, we will do our best to make sure that we offer the classes necessary for you to graduate, but you might not have access to as many aging specific classes that you had hoped. So you should also consider that as part of your choice of MSW program. We do still, however, have many internship placements within aging and gerontology. So if that is what you are interested in, we definitely do still have internship and training available at those aging-focused organizations. The format of the academic courses, so for the on-campus is primarily in-person class format with some hybrid and online course offerings. So here's where we want to also clarify that as technology and the use of technology grows, basically what is happening is that teachers are improving their pedagogy and their teaching style by incorporating more technology into their teaching. So what that means is that sometimes students will enroll and be accepted into our on-campus program expecting that all of their classes will be in person, face-to-face with the professor and their classmates. This has changed where there are some classes, even in our on-campus program, that are taught in a hybrid or some of the class sessions taught in an online format. We think that that is actually an improvement in that some students, even in the on-campus program, are looking for more options given that commuting and travel sometimes is difficult. They also appreciate that the curriculum and the assignments are placed on a learning management system like Blackboard or Canvas. We use Canvas here before the class session and also available after the class session, so that the access to learning material with the use of technology has actually enhanced their learning. So although not all of our classes will be guaranteed to be in-person, face-to-face, the integration of the use of online technology and hybrid classes has actually, in our opinion, helped open up more learning opportunities and addressing many different learning styles for our students. As mentioned before, the online hybrid program has a combination of synchronous and asynchronous sessions. So just know that all of the main content areas are taught online, and then field is still in person. Okay, so that's what you would have to consider in that way. Let's see. Okay, so when we talk about field and field education, for the on-campus program and the online hybrid program, it is a total of 1,200 hours. How that's achieved in the on-campus program is that the first year of internship is 480 hours or 16 hours per week in the first year of field. And then 3 days a week or 24 hours per week throughout the second year of internship, which totals 720 hours. So that 480 plus 720 is the 1,200. For the online hybrid program, it is field divided into 2 years with 600 hours or 16 hours a week for year 1 and year 2. So remember that the online hybrid does not follow the traditional semester schedule in that way. And so you just have to note that the 1,200 hours are accomplished in a slightly different schedule as what the on-campus offers, but it's still a total of at least 1,200 hours. Is the in-person field education, is field education in person, and is that required? So that's yes for both programs. Again, that's why the online hybrid program is called such, because field is still in person. The training and credential and certificates offered, all 3 of the choices that we had mentioned, PPSC, Spanish language, and Title IV is available currently for on-campus students. Currently, those are not available for the online hybrid students. If you were to compare costs, we are basing this financial information off of the information located at the university's bursar office webpage. So if you're looking for the latest figures, you should visit the bursar's office webpage for more information. So as of fall 2017, for the on-campus program, it costs $4,577.50 per semester for an on-campus full-time student. So if our on-campus full-time program is 2 years or 4 semesters, we multiplied that $4,577.50 times 4, and that's how we came up with the $18,310 for a 2-year student, 2-year full-time student. For a 3-year student, remember that there's an added year of tuition involved. For that first year, you're technically considered by the university as a part-time student. The definition of a part-time student is 6 units of enrollment or less. So the reason why that amount is more is because that $24,453 is basically an added year of tuition of a part-time student. Okay. If you compare that with the online hybrid program, the current cost is $475 per unit, and it is anticipated to increase to $550 per unit sometime soon. The official number for those of you who are applying and thinking about starting our program in fall 2018 is still $475 per unit at this moment, but just know that it could increase soon to $550 per unit. The total estimated cost is the $475 multiplied by 60 units for our program, which is $28,500. A question that usually comes up at this point is that the only amount of money that we're expected to budget for when we come to school or enroll for the MSW program? And the answer to that is no. That is only the tuition costs. That does not include your books. It does not include any other living expenses. It does not include your coffee or other types of things that you like to spend money to enjoy. But at this point, it is still a good estimate, at least in terms of what you're looking at. So in terms of the advantages and disadvantages, those folks who are thinking about on-campus are because they still like the traditional mode of face-to-face teaching and learning. And the cost is comparatively less. However, for the online hybrid program, you also have to calculate that it is also reduced costs in terms of your travel and commuting expenses, because basically if you're hooking into classes online, then you do not have a travel cost. So you might be saving money that way in terms of your gas and travel and time and wear and tear in that way. So there are some advantages and disadvantages to both in terms of the mode of education, what we're able to offer, the costs, and also your preference for learning style and the flexibility that you're looking for. What is involved in online learning? Definitely, it's a different style of learning. And so you have to make sure that you have these particular features in mind. You have to have strong time management skills, because even though it is a convenient mode of earning an education in your master's degree, and one of the things that our current students appreciate the most is the opportunity to actually be in a graduate program while keeping their jobs, or most of them who are able to keep their jobs. However, it is a huge time commitment in that manner, because then you're going to work. You're also in class most of the, at least three of the weeknights, oftentimes per session in that way. So you're coming home from work, you're hooking into your class, you're studying, and then you also have to, if you're taking care of your own family, if you're taking care of other personal responsibilities, it's quite a commitment. So strong time management skills are really an advantage if you have those here. Strong organizational skills as well, because the material is going to be posted both online as well as scheduling your synchronous sessions. And you have to be independent and self-motivated in that way to make sure that you keep up with your work. So self-motivated, enjoy working independently, and then also definitely comfortable working with technology. So even today in our information session, having trouble navigating the sound system, you need to make sure that you have a good computer, you have a good fast internet connection, you know how to use your camera and your microphone, and you're just comfortable with using the technology. And then also to enjoy a challenge, because online learning is definitely different from in-person learning in that way. Okay. The application information, basically remember that there are two applications. You have to think about completing the Cal State Apply, which is the university level application. And then you also have to complete the MSW program specific application, which is the school level application. And the due date is February 1st, 2018. And here is the active link, which I showed where the information is for applying, as well as some of the prerequisites and information. Some of the detailed information about, for example, how to fill out the work experience, how we do the recommendations, how we also ask the questions for our personal statement. There are detailed instructions that are in the MSW program application portal. So if you haven't started with an account there, I would highly recommend that and read those instructions through, because a lot of that information is in the portal itself. The other thing that I would like to highlight, which is different from previous years' application processes, is that this year we are also allowing ranked choices for the program options. So what that means is previous years, the applicant had to identify one and only one choice for the MSW program. It could only be either on campus or online. And even within on campus, you had to choose either the 3-year option or the 2-year option. This year, in the MSW application, you have the opportunity to actually rank your choices. So if you are interested in coming to San Jose State and it doesn't matter what mode or program, you might put on-campus 2-year as your first choice, on-campus 3-year as your second choice, and online as your third choice. That is now an option for you. If you are a person who says, no, the only way that I'm gonna study at San Jose State's MSW program is in the online program, you don't have to indicate other choices than just your primary choice. That is up to you, okay? So that is different this year compared to last year. The other change is the way that we define rolling admissions. And the way that we identify and define rolling admissions is that although the official due date is February 1, for those of you who want to submit a completed application, both university level and MSW program level before February 1, we will review your application early, before that February 1 time. For those students, for those applicants who are outstanding, we might even offer admission sooner than February 1. The things that I would like to clarify at this point would be, even if you complete your application early, it doesn't necessarily mean that we will give you a decision early. And even though you might not receive a decision early, that doesn't mean that you're not qualified. It just means that you'll have to wait for the usual review period, which is anytime from February 1 to as late as May 31st. Given that last year, if we get the same type of response last year, we had over 650 applicants last year, and we were only able to admit 180. So graduate school in itself is a competitive process. And again, if you're not admitted, it doesn't mean that you don't have good qualifications or not suitable. It just means that we can only take a certain number of folks. And in terms of who we admit, every person that we admit, there's 3 people that we cannot admit. So just know that it's not something that you're not qualified per se, but that it's a competitive process, okay? We also advise that you read and follow the directions carefully. You would be surprised how many times people are disqualified from application simply because they have an incomplete application or that they don't follow the directions. So please make sure that you do that. Okay, before we go to the Q&A, there's 2 things I would like to do. I would just like to give you some general impressions about our school and the application process itself. And then if Dr. Han can hear me, I would like to ask her if she would like to say anything. So at this particular point, what I would like to say is you all have chosen to be in a profession which I consider one of the most difficult professions that's around. I mean, it's difficult work, working with marginalized community, people who have experienced trauma. It's definitely a lot of difficult situations that you're going to be facing. But at the same time, I think you have also chosen one of the most noble professions that is out there. Social work, I'm glad that you have that passion in mind because we need good social workers out there and there's a shortage of social workers out there. With that being said, you are making a very serious decision of whether to apply to San Jose State or where you're going to be applying to graduate school. So it's my advice that even though some of my colleagues may say, gee, Peter, are you going to talk about our program as being the best program or one of the best programs, or that you all should apply here because we're a really good program? What I want to say to you is we definitely have a quality program here. I wouldn't have committed my career here to San Jose State if I didn't believe in our program. At the same time, our program is not necessarily suitable for everybody. Some of the things that I had mentioned to you, using a cohort-based system for our foundation year, understanding that we have certain fields of practice that we offer, that we're an advanced generalist program. Every program has its strengths and weaknesses, and you should find out about all those strengths and also the dirt about our program. Because although we offer a quality program, you may be looking for something very different. And we would want to make sure that because you're investing a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of money into this decision and your education, we want to make sure that you're applying to the school that best matches and suits your professional and personal goals. So of course, we would love to have you apply to San Jose State. We offer a great program here. At the same time, it might not be the best match for everybody. So just keep that in mind, okay? Before we do Q&A, Dr. Han, are you on? Do you want to chime in here at all?
Hi, Dr. Lee. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Hi,
you.
everyone. Okay. Hi.
Okay.
My name is Mi Kyung Han. I am the online MSW program coordinator. And Dr. Lee, you did just awesome job. You really cover our MSW program so well. So I do not have any additional information, but I just want to let everybody know I'm hoping to see everyone in our program one way or the other. And, I really love our school and our profession. And we do have wonderful professors who has excellent the teaching experience, work experience, and more than anything else, really support and caring for students. So I just want to say that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm doing a time check. It's a little bit after 8:05. And so how I would like to do Q&A first is if you have access to a chat function, please type in your questions into the chat function, and I'm going to read them over the internet connection so that everybody can hear. If they cannot see the questions, I will still read the questions and answer them. For those of you who do not have an opportunity to have a chat, can you please do the, just turn on your microphone, and then we'll just try to answer those as well. Okay, so the first question that has come across is, in the personal statement, can the questions be answered and organized as 1, 2, 3, and so on? Okay, so that is up to you. Basically, what we're looking for is the best writing and the best critical thinking possible in answering our personal statement questions. So if you feel that it's best to help organize it by actually repeating the question and labeling them, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., that is up to you, okay? There is no magic answer in terms of like, ooh, that person numbered the questions or that person didn't number the questions. Overall, we're looking at the quality of the writing, the critical thinking, and the organization. What I would say, though, is that it's very important that you follow the directions in terms of staying within the word count and also making sure that you do address each of the questions. You would be surprised how many writing personal statements we receive that are generic and that do not even answer our questions or do not follow the directions. So that's the best advice I can give you on that. Did you say that we can find more information about the personal statement and letters of recommendation on the MSW application portal? Yes, that is right. So basically what will happen is you would have to start an account in the Cal State Apply system, and then you'll get a login for Cal State Apply. That is a different login and password from the MSW portal. So when you go into the MSW portal, you create a new account, and then it'll walk you through the different steps of that application, starting with some basic demographics, some choices about what field of practice you're interested in, some of the other types of programming that you might be interested in. And then when you get to the personal statement portion, it'll actually have detailed information about the questions, the word count, the organization, and some suggestions about how you would approach that. As far as the letters of recommendation, I want to make sure that we clarify that we are not requiring traditional letters of recommendation. What we call them are recommendation forms. So you still have to have 3 recommendation forms, and how you do that is through the portal. You identify the contact information for your recommenders, and the system and the portal sends a message to your recommenders, and they have access to a scoring form. And what the scoring form is basically we're asking your recommender to rate your experience, your quality, your suitability for these particular areas in regards to the profession, and also suitability for an academic graduate program. There is also an opportunity for your recommender to type in comments into the scoring form, but the comments are not required. The scoring is required. And then there is also a link that will allow your recommender to upload a traditional letter if they so choose to do that. But again, that part is not required. The scoring is required. The comments in the form are optional. Uploading a traditional letter is also optional, okay? But the instructions are there in the portal. What is an example of an upper division paper? Can it be a paper from a BSW class? Okay, so for the writing sample, let me start by saying that the writing sample can be literally anything as long as you feel that it represents your best work and your best writing, okay? It could be literally anything as long as it represents your best writing and your best work. So the reason why we say it that way is because there are students who have direct access to their college work or their university papers because they either are still in school or they graduated recently, so they have access to that material. So you choose a paper that you think best represents your quality of writing, okay? There are many people who have been out of school for so long, they have no longer access to their college or university work. And so in that situation, we have to allow whatever type of writing sample is available to them. So examples could include things like a redacted case report. You know, for confidentiality reasons, you don't want to put anybody's name in there, but it could be some type of report. It could be a newsletter. It could be a publication. But we have also seen simple writing that is generated just for the writing sample. It could, some people have even turned in poems. Some people have turned in some creative writing essays. Again, it could be literally anything as long as you feel that it best represents your quality of work and your writing, okay? Do I need a cover letter for the personal statement? No, you do not. In fact, I don't think there's even an upload button allowable for a cover letter. So the personal statement is basically, you would upload one document that you just want to make sure answers the questions, follows the directions, and stays within the word count. So no, you do not need a cover letter for the personal statement. How long does the writing sample paper need to be? That is up to you. The maximum amount, I believe, is 3,000 words, and those and you want to double check that on the portal. It's 3,000 words maximum. So if you think that you can answer the questions in 100 words, or 2,000 words, or 1,000 words, or what have you, that's up to you. If you feel that you have written everything that you want to say and you're within a certain below the maximum, that's up to you. You certainly should not go above the maximum, however. So that would be an exercise of being concise and clear within the limits, okay? How long does the writing sample paper need to be? For the writing sample, which is different from the personal statement, the writing sample can be literally any length. So if you want to turn in 1,000 pages, that's up to you. If you want to turn in 1 page, that's up to you. So for the writing sample, there is no minimum or maximum. For the personal statement, there is definitely a maximum, okay? Does the Cal State application and the MSW program application need to be submitted at the same time? No, it does not. They both need to be submitted within the deadline, the February 1st deadline, but you can complete one before the other, and it does not matter which one comes in first, as long as they both meet the stated deadline, okay? You also want to make sure that you follow the directions in the Cal State Apply as well. Some of the things that are different would be, because we have an MSW program application as a supplement to the university application, you do not need to do the personal statement on the Cal State Apply, and you do not need to do the recommendations for the Cal State Apply, because those are going to be covered in the MSW program application, okay? So whenever you finish them, once you're ready to submit it, you can submit it one before the other or at the same time. That's up to you. Just make sure that you meet the deadline. Is it better to submit both a letter of recommendation and a reference form? Not necessarily, okay? So you're not, an applicant is not gonna have an advantage or a disadvantage either way if they do include a formal letter of recommendation or if they don't. What we're looking at is the score, and what we're looking at is the recommender, how they feel and score and comment about your suitability to be in an academic program and also suitability for the profession. So at minimum, they have to provide the score. It is up to them and up to you if you want to encourage them whether they're going to include comments or a letter. You're not going to be at an advantage or a disadvantage either way if you do include it or don't include it. Is financial aid available? Thank you for asking that question. So traditional financial aid is available through the On-Campus program, and you should visit the financial aid and scholarship page at the San Jose State University website. And any specific questions about financial aid should be directed to that office. The financial aid availability is different for the online program. In fact, one of the areas that the current students in the online program has been asking us to help clarify is to have a better understanding about when financial aid is available and how much in terms of being in the online program. An example of a challenge that online students have faced is that financial aid is not always available at the same traditional times that the on-campus students have financial aid. And some students have also, in the online program, have run out of financial aid support. And so they have had to turn to either bank loans, traditional loans, credit cards, family and friends, and what have you. So it would be worth your while if you're applying to the online program to plan your finances carefully, well, for on-campus as well, but more so for online, and to make sure that you understand the financial aid options that are available for online students, because they are different and they are more restricted. And the financial planning is a little bit more difficult, well, could be a little bit more difficult given those restrictions, and also because of the relatively higher cost for the tuition part. Do we need to include references, work experiences, GPA, and class courses on the CSU Mentor application? Follow the directions that are in the application, and it's no longer called CSU Mentor. It is called Cal State Apply. So if you still see in our social work information the labeling it of CSU Mentor, could you please tell me where you found that? Because it is no longer called CSU Mentor. So we want to make sure we don't confuse people. It's now called Cal State Apply. Read those instructions. There is a help button there. And the office that you also want to become familiar with is called GAPE, G-A-P-E. And it stands for Graduate Admissions and Program Evaluation, GAPE. The requirement there is that your official transcripts will be sent to the university level through the Cal State Apply application process. Transcripts, so that covers GPA, transcripts are not sent to the school. They're sent to the university level office. The listing of references and work experiences, that's covered in the MSW application, so definitely you need to do that. The class courses, I'm not sure about that one, because basically the listing of courses would be in your transcript, and I think that's what Cal State Apply is asking for through the transcript. But please look at those instructions, and if you have questions specific to that, please contact the GATE office at San Jose State University. The instructions about how you list your work experience and how you list some of your other type of internship, volunteer, or paid in that way is through the instructions in the MSW portal. Would we need to know at the time of submitting the application whether or not we would like to work for the Personnel Services Credential or Spanish Language Certificate? It is not absolutely required, but it would be helpful for us. So if I understand the question correctly, on the application, there are checkboxes in which you can indicate your interest in PPSC and or Spanish language certificate, as well as like the Title IV-E and your field of practice, okay? If you don't select those boxes, it doesn't mean that you'll be excluded from that, but by indicating those boxes, it helps with our planning to make sure we understand who is interested, how many students. Possibly we would have to account for enrollment, that type of thing. If you're admitted into the program and you've come to orientation, then you would basically also ask that question to make sure that we prepare you in time for PPSC and also for the Spanish class, because basically those classes, you might want to strategize taking them earlier in your school career as opposed to later. So the sooner that we know, the better. If you're thinking about PPSC and Spanish language right before you graduate and you decide then, well, that's an example when it's too late. Okay, so think about the earlier you let us know, the better. Do we have to apply for the Title IV-E program during the MSW application process? Or do we apply to that once we're enrolled in the MSW program? Okay, you do basically a Title IV-E application during the time that you are applying for MSW, but the Title IV-E application is due March 1st, not February 1st. So you have a little bit more time to complete the Title IV-E application. Sometimes folks are also waiting to hear if they are admitted into the MSW program before before they commit to Title IV-E. Basically, you cannot be in the Title IV-E program officially unless you're admitted into our MSW program. It is possible to be in our MSW program and not get the Title IV-E training opportunity and stipend, and some people still come even though they don't get the Title IV-E advantage or opportunity. Some people, they feel that they'll only come if they're also admitted to Title IV-E, but again, the application process comes a little bit after the MSW program process. You mentioned that the program is only available for county employees. Do we have to be county employees at the time that we apply, or can we try to work for the county once we're in the MSW program? My advice is that you check with your county programs now while you're applying. I think that it would be too late for you to try to work for the county or try to get a job for the county after you're admitted, because many of the counties, including the one that we have the direct relationship with, which is Santa Clara County, they require a work-study application before they even start the MSW program. So you need to check with your county folks whether they even offer work study, and also whether they have an opportunity, if they do work study, that they have an agreement with our university to be able to support that, okay? Can we take the exam in Spanish to get a certificate, being an online student and fluent in Spanish? Currently, we do not offer that option. However, we can put you in touch with the professor who manages the Spanish certificate. And if you send me an email separately, I can put you in touch with that professor, okay? And if you do send me an email, just make sure that you, that if you don't get a reply within a couple of days, just send me a reminder, that's fine. I just want to make sure that I see it, okay? Okay, we're at 8:24. I'm going to ask Dr. Han again, if she's still on, if she wants to elaborate on any of the answers that I've given to these questions. And in the meantime, if you still want to type in a chat question, or if there's a person who does not have access to chat, if you want to turn on your microphone and ask the question on the audio portion, that is fine as well. Okay, so Dr. Han, do you want to chime in anything about the questions or the answers that I've given so far?
No, everything sounds perfect and accurate. Okay, thank you, Dr. Lee.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody want to add a chat question, or does anybody want to turn on a microphone and ask a question over the audio? Okay, I'm restarting my video just to let you know that I'm still here. I just want to thank you all for your time. I know you've invested a lot of time to find out. Please do find out about our program. If you know some students who are in our program, know some alums who have graduated from our program, you know, really talk with them and find out what the reputation is, whether or not this is a suitable program for you. There was another question about, is it possible to get the slides? Yes. So if you're still on the shared screen, basically the slides are posted on the MSW Informational Meeting website, and under the MSW Informational Meeting, where it has each of the time appointments for the meetings, there is a link there that says, click here for presentation slides. And then once you click on that, it gives you access to the PowerPoint, the PDF version of the PowerPoint that we just did over the online session, okay? How many pages do we need to write for our personal statement? It is not a page length, it is a word count. So the maximum is 3,000 words, there is no minimum. So again, it's up to you, however you feel you need to answer those questions in a complete fashion. You can go under the word count, but you can't go over the word count. And so it's up to you in terms of how well you think you can present a good answer and a good argument response to the questions. Is it possible to get access to the recording? So we're going to work on that. And so basically what's going to happen is Dr. Han and myself are going to be asking the University Technology Services to analyze and check our recording and do some simple editing. And if it all works out well, then we will be posting it either on the MSW application page and or the informational meeting page. So we'll try to make that link obvious when we're able to edit that, okay? 8:27, so still a few more minutes. Anybody need to turn on their microphone to ask a question or any other chat questions? Okay, then if no one else has any other questions, we want to thank you on behalf of San Jose State and our MSW program and our School of Social Work. Thank you so much for spending that time with us. And if you want to stay on for a few more minutes, if you still have questions, I will stay online. But I'm going to officially thank you for being part of this informational meeting. Thank you for pursuing and wanting to be part of our noble profession of social work. And we wish you all the best in that. Feel free to send the school an email if you have additional questions. I do see that somebody else typed in a question, but I'll stop the recording and then I'll take that question offline. So again, thank you so much. If you'd like to sign out, please do so. Contact the school if you have more questions. And here is the official end of our session and stopping the recording. Thank you very much.